This is the new EVELO Omega. It's a really interesting blend of an approachable step-through frame. It's very beautiful with the integrated down-tube battery pack, high capacity, but it comes with lights and fenders. You could end up commuting with this thing if you wanted to. They sell this optional rack. They even have an optional sort of a range extending battery pack. It doubles your range. Pretty awesome. That's the EVELO Atlas. I've reviewed that separately. It's kind of a diamond frame, a little bit less approachable, maybe a bit stiffer, and it has the suspension fork. This one has a rigid fork, and the wheels are a little bit smaller, so it's 26 by 2.8 versus 27.5 by 2.8. These are plus size tires, so you have more air volume, greater surface area, so that contact patch is a little bit bigger, maybe a little lower attack angle, give you some comfort. So they act as like shock absorbers if you don't overinflate them. And I like that. I'm someone who appreciates comfort. When you look at this Stargazer stem from Satori, I mean, it really brings those handlebars up. They've got 4 spacers down here and this nice swept back handlebar. Both of them have that, actually. And these custom ergonomic grips. It's a really comfortable bike. It's something you can just cruise around the neighborhood on. But still, again, it's very capable, and you can actually adjust the top speed on this. So it's technically, it could be like a class 3, and it has a throttle. So I know a lot of people appreciate that. It's nice to have the extra power. The motor on this thing, it's from Dapu. It's a customized MD250 that's rated at 115 Newton meters of torque, according to EVELO. I appreciate that, especially for carrying some cargo or if you're a heavier rider, and this bike was designed to accommodate heavier individuals, so up to 350 pounds of weight capacity. I really appreciate the attention to detail here. Not only does it have bottle cage bosses, but it comes with a little bottle holster and a bottle. You can see it's EVELO branded right where you want it. Pretty convenient, and you know, you can clear this without kicking it too much. Of course, they also have, you know, little bottle kind of cup holder options. There are some trunk bags with a little holster in the back. Lots of great stuff. So I just want to point out some of the other little hardware features I noticed. These extra wide fenders here, they give you great coverage, and they're almost like corrugated or something, so they're a little bit stiffer, they're not rattling a whole lot. And if you look at the support arms, they aren't like poking out, it's rounded, and they're mounted really securely. So I care about that, you know, as you're pedaling along and maybe you go off-road or on gravel. It's nice to have a bike that's fairly quiet. You've got this rubberized end piece. If you kick it, it's not going to get bent out of shape. Wellgo pedals, that's a brand I like. And these ones have the rubberized traction. So again, for casual riding, if you slip off or something, they're not going to scratch up your shin. You could upgrade those to something bigger and a little bit more aggressive if you wanted, but I think it's the right choice for this kind of bike. 170 millimeter crank arms. We got this smoked plastic belt cover. That's great for if you have pants or a dress. It's not going to touch the belt or get caught in this, but this is just so clean. I mean, if you look at this, it doesn't have a derailleur hanging down. There's no cassette or anything. This is the Enviolo AUTOMATiQ, so it's like an automatic electronic shifting. You don't have to press any buttons or do anything up here. Now, they do have an optional app, so you can adjust the settings there, and I think there's actually like a physical attachment you can get. I'm here with John O'Donnell, who's like the product designer for this bike. Can you talk a little bit more about the automatic system and what that means? Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I would say is that our previous bikes had the Harmony system, which was the previous version, the progenitor of the automatic. Automatic works a lot differently. It has stronger motors in the back. The servo motors shift a lot faster, shifts on steeper grades. And it genuinely is an automatic system. You can just get on and ride the bike. Yeah. We do have an app available that Enviolo makes that you can adjust the cadence if you want to tweak some features. It's very customizable. Yeah. But 80% or more of the folks who ride the bike, they find that just getting on and pedaling it works. Yeah, it just works. That's been my experience, actually, getting on this thing. And he's right. I mean, you can hear the servos like as you start to pedal. When you start, it's easy. And then as soon as you get going, it's like a car, you know, as soon as you're a little bit up to speed, you go out of first and kind of shifts right up to almost third. And then my cadence, it kind of slows, and I'm just relaxed. I'm pedaling, and depending on the level of assist, that motor kicks in. And I mean, we were able to climb this trail earlier, ride with no problem. I didn't have to stand up. I wasn't getting the hurt knees or anything. But bringing you back to this, these Enviolo systems, they do weigh a little bit more because there's these metal orbs and there's this traction fluid inside. It's just this really smooth shifting that can actually shift at standstill. I found when I was stopping, you hear those servos like, and it goes back to the low gear for starting out again. So a little bit of extra weight, but very durable, very clean. And in order to get this kind of setup, you need a custom frame. So they actually have a breakaway right here in the frame. I was really impressed to hear that it still has that high weight capacity, considering all of the customization that's been done. And I love all of these mounting points here. So whether it's their rack or some of your own accessories, it just feels like it's done really well. Look at that additional support arm for the fender. The fender is not touching this optional rear rack. You might notice some of the lights and everything. I'm going to go into that later, but the lights have brake light activation for added safety, which I appreciate. This thing only comes in one frame size and one color combination, which I think is really nice looking. We got this metallic white glossy, and then there's this metallic sand up here. I think this is like a kind of a custom forked, tapered, and then down here we have a sturdy through axle, and that's a little bit stiffer. It's almost like a mountain biking part. So for a cruiser, I guess it comes back to that higher weight rating and those bigger tires and stuff. The bike feels solid, which I appreciate. Of course, you want good brakes as well. 3-finger levers here with adjustable reach, so if you're someone with petite hands, you can bring them in, or you can leave them out if you're kind of got the larger hands. We got the brake activation lines that I was talking about. A little bit of wire clutter up here, but then it pretty quickly goes into the frame. It looks really beautiful. It's not going to get snagged as you pedal or mount this thing, and I appreciate that. Up front, we've got 180 millimeter rotor with dual piston caliper, and in the rear we've got a 160, so a little bit smaller. The bigger rotor up front is great because it gives a mechanical advantage as your weight shifts forward, and there's more surface area for cooling, which is wonderful. So it's done well for kind of a cruiser bike. It's fine. I'm especially happy that they have hydraulic disc brakes for a bike like this, since it is capable of going a little faster and it has that higher power rating. And then just, you know, having the throttle and stuff, there are times where if you got confused or you were bumping something, they have the motor cut off. So anytime you touch those brakes, the motor just backs right off, which is really nice. This is a heavier motor. It's about 9 pounds. The battery about 8.5 pounds, so 63.5 pounds on this bike. And then the price point, $46.99. So you're paying a healthy, it's actually the same price as the Atlas over there, but there's just so much you can do with this. This is like a do everything platform. You don't have the suspension fork, but that keeps it a little bit lighter. This one's like 66 pounds versus 63, and you could always get a suspension seat post, so 27.2 millimeters on that. Very, very standard. And then this is a memory foam saddle from Selle Royale, kind of complementing the grips and everything up here. The other thing I should point out is there's this quick connection point right here. Comes with the bike. You can just plug in that optional battery pack to get that extended range. If you're someone who uses the throttle a lot or you weigh a bit more, it's really neat to have that option. And this is what it looks like over here. I was really impressed with the rack because it has a pannier hanger. It's got a platform up top for a trunk bag, and it's rated at 25 kilograms in addition to the battery pack, which is like 7.4 pounds. So that's a lot of capacity right here, whether you have a child seat or maybe you just want to have the stock kind of basic platform rack here with that nice EVELO branding and kind of the wood. Maybe this is bamboo, and it has the same 25 kilograms. That's like 55 pounds. So John, I've been, covering bikes from EVELO for many years. When were you guys incorporated? Or
about 2012.
Wow, yeah, similar time frame. And I'm trying to, I guess, remember you have a pretty good warranty. I think there's like 4 years or something.
Yeah, we do 4 years or 20,000 miles.
Okay, that's fantastic. So pretty good support. It also feels like some of your systems are a little bit more open source, whether it's standard handlebars and stuff. You can upgrade this stuff aftermarket.
Correct. Yeah, we try to keep it not completely locked down to where if you need a new handlebar or something like that, you're limited to something that you have to get from us.
One thing I noticed, I mean, considering they're the same price and everything, why not have suspension on the step through? Maybe it saves some weight on the frame?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. And the first thing I'll mention, that cost was not the driver at all, because this fork actually cost more than a lot of the suspension forks that are out there.
Yeah. I believe that, yeah.
Well, there aren't a lot of options, so it's a custom fork that we designed just for this bike.
Yeah.
But the main reason was it's for the purpose of this particular bike and what it's looking to do. We wanted it to be relatively light, as light as we could, while still having all the features that we wanted on it, and offering a lot of brake control, and having it be an integrated platform that just felt good for the rider. Suspension forks are great over big bumps, when you're riding off-road, when you hit big sharp edges. For the sort of high frequency vibrations that you get, a bigger tire run at lower pressure is actually going to help more than a suspension fork. And we do actually have some options that will be available aftermarket that will be not in the fork area but in the stem area. And
yeah, interesting. I've seen some different products recently, like suspension stems and stuff. That's cool.
There are some out there, but most of them do not keep the high handlebar position, which most of our customers really want.
I was wondering,
We've been working with Connect on coming up with a stem that is higher rise, basically keeps the position of this. It should be available in the next 60 days.
Wow, okay. And Connect also has this great suspension C posts and stuff too.
They do. We actually carry the Sudbuster from Cane Creek, but Connect makes a great suspension post as well.
Great, and SR Sun Tour has one as well, while we're doing shout outs here. So that's cool. And you know, EVELO has a ton of options and accessories on their website. They're kind of guaranteed to fit. Do you just ship them in the box, or do you guys actually assemble the bikes with accessories if people like get the rack, for example?
We ship them we ship the bikes and then ship the accessories separately. If a customer wants to, we can ship it to their local bike shop of choice and have the accessories installed there.
You guys have like the free shipping, contiguous US?
We do.
For that. Okay, so that's cool. You know, the price is kind of what they say it is. Let's talk a little bit about the battery charger here before we get into the pack itself. You know, it's a fairly high capacity battery, so the charger's about 1.5 pounds and it's 3 amps, so it's a little bit faster than average. Maybe you won't have to wait so long to fill the bike, and that's really wonderful, especially if you have the optional second pack. And I was delighted to hear that you can plug it in right here and it would charge both batteries and it would kind of balance them. So that's cool. A lot of times you need like to unplug the charger and plug it in, or get 2 chargers. So really well done. The charger port is right where you want it, high on the right hand side of the bike. So many times I see it low on the left, and it's you hit your head on the handlebars and you have to bend over. They did that really well, and of course you can charge the battery on or off the frame. So let's check out the battery pack here. These are the keys. They're kind of fancy. They're like the kind of routed sort of ones. Insert up here. At least it's high up, you know, it's on the left side of the frame, but pretty easy to access. And if we twist it, the battery, it just kind of falls out to that first position, but it doesn't come out completely, which is great. So for safety, you can kind of pull out a little bit on these ledges. Pretty easy to grab this thing. 8.5 pounds, color matched, just like the fork, really beautiful. And the specs here, it's a 48 volt pack, 15 amp hours. And there's the charging port. So I mentioned this in part because, you know, if you live in an environment where it's really cold, you would temporarily stunt the range of the battery if it gets really cold. And if it's really hot, you're kind of degrading the lithium ion cells. They're just not going to have the same lifespan, the same number of charge cycles as if you kept this in a cool, dry environment. They get like 50% charged if you know you're not going to use it for a while. And they're using the really fancy like Tesla battery cells in here, the 21700s. So it's a little bit lighter and more compact, even though it's a super high capacity. I would consider 500 watt hours to be kind of average. So 720 for like a pack that looks like this, it's this small. I think that's fantastic. And again, pretty easy to get that back on the bike. Oh, and there's a little charge level indicator on the bottom too. To get it the rest of the way, you just pull the keys out and wait until it clicks, and then you're ready to go. Oh, I should say, if you get that second battery pack, you're going to end up with a second set of keys. They're not going to match, unfortunately. So there's a little bit of extra, but there aren't too many bikes where you have the option to get a secondary battery. So it's nice that they did that and pre-wired it and everything. It does seem to rattle a little bit. It adds some weight, changes the handling a bit, but it's functional. And if you need that extra range, I think it's like $800 for that?
It is $800 for the rack, the light, the control unit, everything that comes in there.
Yeah, and that light is really nice. It's got 2 LEDs versus just one on the stock light, which I should, you know, if you see where this is mounted, it could potentially get blocked by the fender. It's a little bit low, but it has these side windows and stuff that keep it pretty visible. Might as well launch the display while we're up here. Press the power button for a second. It says EVELO, some nice branding. I also noticed that this display and button pad didn't have USB charging ports like the Atlas did, so maybe someday, but I think it's just a different system. That's Bafang and this is Dapu, so slightly different. It's got a really nice readout here, almost like a car. We've got like a little speedometer here, and then we've got assist level. It starts in 1, but you could take it down to 0 and you could still use the lights and everything if you wanted to. Would the automatic shift and stuff too? If we were in 0, it automatically shifts?
It will. That's
cool.
one of the reasons we have the pedals as 0 mode. You can still ride it without power, but then you still have full functionality. It's the automatic and the display panel.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and it's cool that that's powered by the same rechargeable battery, right?
Correct. And it doesn't actually, the automatic system doesn't actually use that much power. So even if you're almost completely out of battery, as long as you have a little bit of juice in there,
yeah,
you'll be able to use. And if you run out completely, it will shift to the middle of the range, basically a gear that will get you up a reasonable sized hill, but still you won't be pedaling like crazy on the flat.
It's like it's a smart mode kind of thing. It takes you to, that's so cool. I'm so glad you're here, John. Thank you for clarifying that. Really big display, pretty easy to see. You can swivel it if you're getting glare. Battery percentage, which is wonderful, much more precise. We got the time, the trip distance, and the odometer. And then over here, if we hold the minus button for a couple seconds, we get walk mode, which is really great because, you know, it is still a 63-pound bike, and if you had the child seat or something on this and you're going through a park, it might be more convenient. And then I think if we press the power button, we get the lights going on. Check out this headlight. I love that it has those side cutouts. You're going to be able to have just a little bit of a larger visual footprint when you're on this bike. 400 lumens. This is a Cree LED, super bright, and it's on this metal post with a metal housing, not blocked by the fender. Just excellent here. Again, a white frame, you know, it just, safety is a big deal, and I'm glad that they're doing that pretty well. And then I think if we hold the set button for a couple seconds, we would get into the menus. So you can change like the units from miles to kilometers, that kind of thing. Check your battery. You can see the display a little bit better now that I'm in the shade. And the button pad's very reachable. The trigger throttle's right there. It does not work in assist level 0. I wanted to let you know that. If we take it up to 1, I'm gonna go on this gravel path here and put those wide tires to the test and just ease into it. Yeah, that's pretty zippy. So it feels like you're getting full throttle power even on the lower levels of assist, which I love because this is a variable speed throttle. If you just feather it, you can still get the slower speed. I'm going to take us all the way up to assist level 5 and gently press. Yeah, see? Nice and smooth. And then juice it again. Beautiful. And with that auto shifting, I think it'd be fairly efficient. Just kind of senses. That's about the speed you'd get without using the app, without getting that optional button pad up here. Yeah, just lets you focus on the beautiful nature, or talking to your friend or whatever. I also feel like this frame is very stable. You can ride with no hands. It feels stiff. I'm not getting speed wobble or anything, and I really appreciate that. Listen for the servo now. I'm going to put you down by the... Yeah, it's super smart. Like as soon as you're slowing down or getting ready to stop, it shifts back down to the easy gear to make it easy to start again. And this is a high RPM motor. So if you're pedaling like in a low gear and you're pedaling really fast, the motor isn't going to drop out on you. I can't really demonstrate that though, because the automatic shifting is always taking me to like a neutral gear that's more comfortable, but it's nice to know that the system can handle it. Go on these docks. It does feel pretty comfortable, even without suspension. You've got that much distance and the longer handlebar and stuff. It really takes the edge off. And these tires, they are pretty low right now. I weigh like 135 pounds. I'm 5'9" for reference. And this bike is feeling just fine to me. Put my foot down, easily straddle the frame, get on, get off. Just wonderful. Excellent kickstand position, adjustable length. Oh, and I should point out, that's the rear wheel speed sensor, and there's a little spoke magnet. If you ever get a read error on the display, make sure this is straight, you know, and aligned before checking anything else, because occasionally those get bumped out of position. Extra thick spokes here to support that higher weight. Just a lot of good stuff. So if you want to adjust and fine-tune the automatic shifting, you can get the app. It's called the Enviolo app, and EVELO actually has a really good tutorial video that goes deep into the settings, but at a high level here, what does this thing look like?
So this is, once you get it installed, this is the basic app. Configuration is where you'll spend most of your time, and the most common setting that you would want to change in here, besides if you want to go to metric or imperial, would be the cadence. And that is, if you feel like you're pedaling too fast or too slow, there's a little slider bar right here. You just touch and then move over. Such as that.
Fantastic.
You also have the option for manual gears. If you want to put it in manual mode, you can actually shift gears, and you can use the app to do that as well. But most of our customers find that just finding their preferred cadence, setting that, and then after that, you just get on and ride.
It's great. And I might have mentioned it, but this has the like 380 degrees of shifting ratio. It's roughly equivalent to like 11 to 42 tooth cassette, which is great. I see a lot of bikes with like 11 to 32 or something, so yeah, it's pretty broad range.
Yeah, it's a really wide range, gives you a nice high top end for maximum speed, and there's almost no hill that you can't get up pretty easily without killing yourself, straining your knees.
Nice. I love the options there. Thank you again, John. Guys, I think that's about it. That's the EVELO Omega. It sounds like it's one of their more popular models. I can see why. And of course, with the one frame size, the one color, they're trying to keep the costs lower. And it may seem like this bike's pretty expensive, but when we're talking about the automatic shifting and the continuously variable transmission, the Gates belt drive, like the nice lights, that stuff costs some money. I think they've put something really special together here for you. Back at my site, ElectricBikeReview.com, I've got a comparison tool so you can look at most of the other EVELO bikes. I've covered a lot of them over the years. And there's also like a forum, so you can ask other people what they think, people who actually own the bike. Maybe they like the accessories EVELO has, or maybe they recommend something different. You know, the bags that would be good to choose, that kind of thing. And just, you know, this is a free review. I just do these to try to help you and have fun out there. So I love you, ride safe, and we'll see you next time.